We are live for our second of two state hangouts. Coach Ed Gates. He did figure out his camera this time, so we can see him. He's here to help us dissect the last seven weight classes. Mike Reiser, who's if his eyes are a little red, it's from seeing his results from the semi-state pick'ems.
Oh,
He's
cuts deep. That cuts deep.
he's him and Spires see each other this weekend. It might not be pretty. That might be a bigger match than Red versus Lee.
Fire's on fire. That guy's killing.
You might have to bring him on here just to have him on there as a reward for winning for like the last 3 years. So
He's gonna buy out the entire store. We could probably trade up.
so no, it's pretty heated at the pick'ems. We also have the pick the champions. Again, we are doing that all online. I think we may do some paper stuff, but I haven't talked to the person that's helping out about it, so we'll figure that out soon. So do your picks so you can win IndianaMat gear and look cool like us. Coach Bendowski, how's Carmel doing this week? You guys ready for the for state with your four guys?
Well, we are, but I think we've all been here. We've had great weeks of practice before big meets and laid an egg, and we've had terrible weeks of practice and wrestled lights out. I think just this time of year, the guy who wants to keep scoring points in tough matches and build on leads is, the guys who advance. And so, we don't pay an awful lot of attention to how well practice was because that's definitely just made me lose sleep for no reason.
Yeah, so that should be a good week. I'm excited. I know you guys had some pretty good. We were talking about most of your guys last night, so so we don't have to have you brag on them and stuff. So or the pressure of saying, oh yeah, they're going to the finals. So we have 7 more weights to go. We're gonna, just like we did last night, we're gonna draw them out of a hat, and we'll go over them. Coach Badowski has the brackets in his head, I think. So we'll go with the first one, 126. Ooh, that should be a good starter. Mike, what do you see here? I know we have Hudkins and Torres and Bailey. Bailey and Torres are on the opposite side. That should be a great match. They are 1-1 within the past 8 months, I guess.
Yeah, so someone kind of gave me a little bit of business on that today on the board. I was also including IndianaMat right before the season. Torres had beat him there.
Yeah, that was a good match. I saw that one obviously up close and personal. It was a great match. Stu got after it, which was good, especially preseason. They weren't just gonna let it go to. They tried not to let it go to overtime, but they were getting after each other. Pretty fun to watch. Two guys like that. You have the defending champ Hudkins, who's been pretty much lights out this year from everything I've seen. And then we'll let you take this bracket, the top half, and kind of go over to the semifinals what you have.
Okay. I thought it actually spread out pretty well. Like, if I could have seeded, I would have seeded Hudkins, Bailey, Torres, Holmes apart like that. And I thought it was actually pretty clean. Obviously, they don't seed it, but I have Hudkins over Davenport Friday night. I have Joel McGee over Reese Rodriguez. I have Marcus Mejia getting by Logan Dillbeck. I have them 8 and 7, but I thought Mejia's wrestled well all year, and I have De La Pena over Holmes Friday night, and then I have Mejia and Hudkins in the semis.
Okay, so you have Mejia over Holmes. That first round, De La Pena Holmes looks like a pretty good match. Coach B, what do you think? Have you looked at the weight? What do you think about Hudkins and the big names here?
Well, if you go with just the top half of the bracket, Hudkins has got some pretty good wall charts on his wall at home. And the thing about him is he's a gamer, and he's not going to make a whole bunch of highlight videos, but he finds ways to win. Holmes, De La Pena, that's a big match right off the bat for Friday night. And so I think whoever wins out of that one is going to be in a good spot Saturday morning. But you know the Elkhart Memorial guys rolling. And can McGee give Hudkins a battle? I know when we wrestled McGee this year, we were impressed by how big he is, and that's just kind of funny to say. Don't they all weigh the same? And I'm sure they do. But Joel's McGee's 126 pounds is a little bit different than the average 126-pound kid, and just to be that size and to be able to move his feet, um, if he can stay in a match with Hudkins, it could be close. But then I think he'd be getting towards Hudkins' ability to win matches in big stages. And so I think Hudkins looks pretty good to come out there. Um, that quarterfinal of the bracket, I don't know who's going to win, Holmes and De La Pena. I know that that's a match that I've got highlighted on my bracket of one I want to see to come through. I think Holmes is pretty darn fast. And I know for the last 3 years we've tried to beat him, and we haven't since he was a freshman. And the guy's had success here, and so then you put that on the line, and then you go De La Pena's a Maldonado. And so those group of guys coming through and win, and who knows what Mahita's going to do coming through that. If you're going to make me pick one,
Nah.
nope, I'm not. I'm not, because I really don't know. I think. I don't know very much about Elkhart Memorial guy, but I would say the winner of Holmes and De La Pena are going to be in the semifinals.
Yeah, definitely. Go down to the bottom half of the bracket. Torres and obviously Bailey, who's been in the semifinals twice. He has 3 losses on his career. Obviously, everyone keeps asking. I think that might be the most asked question on the board. It was to an Ohio kid from a Mason, Ohio kid. Mike, I know his brother beat Doster, also the kid's brother. So pretty good wrestling. Do you know the kid's name offhand, or do I know I have it on here?
Yeah, we had it on there. I'm not sure. I mostly just stay with Indiana guys. It was. I'm not positive. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead. What do you talk about your? It was actually there. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead with your picks for the bottom half.
I'm gonna go red. You want me to red?
We'll go first.
Okay.
Bailey might be as confident a guy on the mat as I've ever seen, and his ability to scramble in big stages, boy, that puts people in a bad spot. And I think that makes him pretty competitive in the state tournament. 10,000 people, you can get on a leg and think, yeah, I'm going to score. And Bailey's just started to wrestle from there. And like I said, big stages, that's going to put a lot of people in a nightmare. And so Bailey coming through. Gomez is one that's a threat. I know he's starting to close the gap on Hudkins and making that one a little bit closer. But I don't know if he can get past Bailey. Torres is an athlete, and he's getting better every year. And I think him coming out of that bracket, what is Becker going to do? I know Dieter and Lou's got his kid rolling, but I would probably have to guess Torres coming out of that bracket with Torres and Bailey in the semifinals is going to be a hell of a match.
Yeah, Combest Combest, sorry, I got it right now. And Becker first round. That should be a good one. It was a 6-3 match at the Al Smith, or 8-5 Smith. Becker won, so that should be a pretty good first round match in that lower bracket. And I think Gomez and Franklin, I think they wrestled last year, and I think Gomez beat Franklin, so that should be another good one. Franklin's kind of been under the radar, but one thing I know, Bailey, you say about scrambling, if he gets on top, that's a good way. I mean, especially late in the period, it's hard he's really good on top, and he can definitely cling on if he needs to cling on for 30 seconds or even a minute sometimes. So that definitely adds another element that makes him pretty dangerous to wrestle. Mike, what's your take on 26, the bottom half?
Yeah, I have it the same way. I have Torres, Becker, Bailey, Gomez. Gomez, his dad was a Calumet guy, so I've known his mom since I was a little kid. Um, but I just think Bailey, this could be his year. Obviously, he's had 2 trips to the semis. Torres, the finalist last year. I think that's a great semifinal right there.
What do you guys have in the semis and finals here? Start with you, Mike.
I have Hutkins over Mejia. Mejia beat De La Pena at the Al Smith, the third and fourth place match. So I got Mejia in the semis there. And then I have Hutkins going to the finals again. And I have Bailey over Torres tight. I mean, but really, that could go either way. I'm sure his dad will send me a text and give me a hard time. And I have Hutkins for the second title.
Yep, Hunkins, Northern Illinois recruit. Their head coach is a guy I wrestled with in college, so it's good to see some Indiana boys going down there. What do you have, Ed, for the semis and finals?
If it's Torres Bailey in the bottom semifinal, I think that's a pick 'em. I think the Portage staff will make some adjustments in that one. Would make it close, and then it's going to go to Torres's, plan and his athleticism get him through Bailey's ability to scramble and make a technical nightmarish match for somebody, and that's definitely a pick 'em. I think Hutkins coming out of the top half of the bracket is where a lot of the money's got to go on that one in Vegas. But that bottom semifinal match, if it's Torres and Bailey, this is a good way to watch.
Oh, definitely. Even from start to finish, and I mean Bailey and Torres any other year, you're probably talking about that's a state finals match, but they have to go through both each other, and then they have to get through Hudkins just to get a title. So, or if one of those two win it, they'll definitely earn the title. So there's no easy path to the title at this weight.
No, and if you go with Hudkins, Holmes, Torres, and Bailey, those guys have combined 7 matches in the semifinals of the state tournament. And so it's not like somebody's going to get blown away in front of people. They've all done this. And so, take a little bit of that part out of the equation just because of the experience here. But this is, from top to bottom, this is going to be a fun one to watch.
Oh, definitely.
I think in both the matches that Torres lost, he lost to Hudkins and he lost to Bailey. He gave up a 5-point move in both. So to kind of swing that, he took Bailey down. Bailey hipped over to his back, gave up 5. Him and Hudkins was 2-1, and then gave up that inside trip scramble right to his back for a 5. So if he can minimize those, which I'm sure Leroy, and Eric, Keith, and get that going, and have game plan that up. But I mean, really, I think you could toss it up for all 4.
Definitely. So
No, yeah, the other one is this is just going to be funner than hell to watch.
Oh yeah.
You guys are going to score some points. Holmes and De La Pena aren't going to be 1-1 with 20 seconds to go. I mean, you go through this, there's going to be some points put on the board. Those of you guys that are stat nerds, I'd like to see you put together the average point per mat on this weight class, and I would bet this one outscores them all.
Wouldn't surprise me. Might take 145 though if Motley and Laughlin. that might.
I'd say it all. You go these first 8 matches.
Yeah. Should be. Be some good matches. I know. I mean, even look at like Combest and Becker was 8-5, so it wasn't a close. I mean, it wasn't a low scoring match. So these guys will get after it. Bailey puts points on the board. So does Hudkins. So does Torres. So definitely some kids that put points on the board. So it should be fun. We'll move on to our next weight. 145.
Speak of asking for 145.
This is another one that's going to be fun to watch. I mean, this year, I think top to bottom, I think all the weights kind of look like fun to. I mean, there's a lot of competitive weights, even if we have a little bit of a couple guys that are favorites, but 145, we have could have a Laughlin versus Laughlin in the quarterfinals. Um, Brad Laughlin's the number one ranked guy, and and number two Timmerman's on the or Lee and Timmerman in the same quarter bracket. And if Joe Lee gets through to the finals, he's definitely going to be battle tested. What do you see? We'll start with you, Mike, in the top half, which is absolutely kind of crazy. Up that top half is just ugly.
Yeah, obviously I've had Brad Laughlin ranked number one all year. Not all year, but the last part of the year. So I got Laughlin advancing Friday night. I didn't know a lot about Derek Motley, and then I just recently got to see a video of him, and he is an offensive machine. He looked really good in that Timberman match. So I have him over Austin Laughlin, where I would have went if I didn't see that match. I probably would have went Austin Laughlin there because I think Austin Laughlin could throw up a lot of points. That's one I'm circling for Friday night because I think both those guys can score a ton of points really quick. Obviously, Joe Lee I have advancing Friday night, and then Timmerman Rodriguez. I don't know how banged up Jared Timmerman is. I know he had his shoulder wrapped pretty good, but I'm glad Chad's not here because I feel bad. But I'm gonna go Jared Timmerman. Obviously, setting up a rematch with Joe Lee in the quarters Saturday morning. So just on that top part, you got 1, 2, 3, 8, but I have number 20 knocking off number 8, and then I have Brad Laughlin over Motley Saturday morning, and I have Jolie over Jared Timberman.
Yeah, that top half is just crazy. I know I definitely have the Motley Laughlin match circled too. I know Coach Pendowski. We were talking before we got on the air about Motley. Tell us a little bit about him because since you guys see them a lot, and he kind of came out of nowhere. And you're still trying to figure out where he came from, aren't you?
Well, if you haven't seen him, when he walks out on the mat, you'll probably think that's Ed Pendowski at first because this guy's put together. But no, it's just the size, power, and speed. And then Lou's got him attacking from different spots. He attacks from space. If you close the distance and grab a hold of him, he's not afraid to, jack you up with double unders, and somebody's going flying. And those are, it reminds me a lot of those Harvey Twister kids when they're little. They'll attack you from 10 feet away at your ankles. And so you change levels and try to match that, and then they're just going to dig unders and try to pick you up and put your shoes in the ceiling. And so, yeah, Motley, if he can wrestle with confidence in this, it could give a lot of people a lot of fits. And, again, it's being able to compete in front of 10,000 people with some great big strong guy is jamming unders or he's attacking your ankles. And being able to handle that turd storm is not a simple thing to do. And if Laughlin can hang with it and make it a low-scored match, I know that Vaughn slowed it way down in the finals of semi-state. And, I know I sat there going, okay, wait a minute now, Motley's going to pick something because he can attack in different places. And he's a nightmare to wrestle against.
Yeah, definitely. Austin Laughlin, he's a high risk guy. So I have a feeling that one's going to be a fun match to watch. Hopefully they go about 6 minutes, at least more than 2 minutes, because if it'll probably be like the Ryan Lang match from NCAAs a few years ago, where they just him and I can't remember who it was, but they were just rolling around and just throwing each other. Just one of those matches that I think could be fun to watch. Hopefully they go for about 4 to 6 minutes so that we get to be entertained for a little bit.
I think Coach Pendowski actually hit that on the head pretty good with the Harvey Twister thing. He does remind me a lot of like Charles Lloyd, like just how he can attack from a lot of different angles and he kind of get you in a lot of different positions.
What were you saying there, Coach?
But it is all about us in entertainment. I think if somebody gets pinned in 2 minutes, they should stop and say, no, we're going to do it again. That's not fun enough for us to watch.
Yeah, especially if it's a good match, they're getting after it. I just remember. Like Mike alluded to the Tavante Malone Blake Jordan match last year, and that was a lot of fun to watch. And definitely, if we had more matches like that, wrestling would be a lot more popular. So,
Yeah,
um,
Austin Laughlin, Derek Motley's gonna be Blake Jordan, Devontae Malone 2.0.
yes. So you guys are getting it from us. Watch that match tomorrow. In 2 days. Man, it's only 2 days away. Um, Coach Mondowski, what do you have up top in the meat grinder part of that bracket?
Um, the top quarterfinal bracket, that one's just yucky. I'm not picking that one. Laughlin, Motley. Laughlin and Motley end up in a 35-30 match. Who wins? Somebody does. I don't know. Then go into Laughlin. Can he slow it down? Can he, speed it up when he needs to? I don't know. And the bracket underneath that I'm looking at Lee and Timmerman, and what are they, 3-2 against each other, 2-2 in their
Uh,
career? Didn't they split last year?
no, they Lee won both times, but
Was it
he
one close and one wasn't, or something
yeah
like that?
yeah they
Yeah,
wrestled within like a week of each other, and the first one I think was not that close, but then I think it took him might have taken Timmerman might have taken him to overtime or real close in that second match, if I recall correctly.
Sure.
But
No,
yeah,
something
Timmerman's
like
closed the
that,
gap.
man. But we'll see what comes out on that. I think the Lees are pretty competitive at this tournament, and I'm sure Coach Schaefer's got the boys dialed in and ready to go. But that's another one in the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
Keep your popcorn close because nobody's leaving.
yeah,
And
that's
I want to see both of those.
that first match. I know talking to a couple people that were down there said it was kind of one of those matches that just was kind of ugly as far as Jolie was bleeding a lot, and they really never got to wrestle for more than like 20 seconds at a time, it seemed, that kind of stuff. So like I know from what I heard that the modern day faithful were wanting a stall call, but it's kind of hard to get that going when you're wrestling for 20, 30 seconds at a time. So and I think that just kind of one of those matches that it if they wrestled for a real 6 minutes, string it together without those blood timeouts, I think it would have been a little bit different match. But it's just one of those things that you gotta take into account when you guys look at that match, because it affects both guys whether you're bleeding or not. You're not getting that rhythm to get your setups, get things going. You're kind of just going and stopping. So should be I want definitely circling both those quarterfinal matches on Saturday. Um, Moving on to the bottom half, Jordan Vaughn, returning runner-up, Kenny Kern, who's been absolutely on fire. Brad Laughlin looked like he put him out a little bit, but still, Kern was giving him everything he wanted. Then the bottom quarter bracket's pretty crazy. Casper McIntosh had a great semi-state, and then you have Isaac Eicher and Austin Bethel. There's Bethel's a three-time qualifier. Eicher two-time with a medal, and then Casper McIntosh has a medal too. So that's a pretty we're talking about the top half of the bracket, but that bottom quarter is pretty tough too. What do you have here, Coach Pendowski?
Um, Jordan Vaughn's won 3 matches here in a row last year. Kern's coming from a program that's competitive. But I see Vaughn being able to make matches his pace. He slowed Motley down a bunch in the finals. And, Vaughn finds ways to win those matches. Um, McIntosh has got a medal. Eicher's got a medal. Bethel's got a medal. And so, which one of those guys is going to come out to the semifinals? That's a you pick 'em. I know it's going to be a fun one to watch. I think Eicher wrestles a style that's going to, makes him super hard to beat. But I think you watched McIntosh come down here as everybody went, who the hell's that freshman from Portage that snuck through? And gets a takedown to tie a match and wins another one in overtime. So the guy's a gamer, and that all that stuff makes for good wrestling. I'm not even trying to pick that one coming through. If I had to do anybody, I'd probably just pick Iker and nothing more than because he's a senior.
Yeah, that Iker Bethel match is going to be a good one. Bethel's had a couple tough matches first round last couple years, so I think he might be he's going to be extra hungry this year. Mike, what do you have coming out of that bottom half?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jordan Vaughn over Clay Jones. I have Vaughn. I have Kenny Kern. I have Casper winning Friday night, and I actually have Austin Bethel beating Eichert there Friday night, which, like Coach P said, it's gonna be a toss-up. Eichert 39-1. Bethel has 5 losses, but I mean he's just been in there kind of grinding. I know he gave Joe Lee a loss. And then I have Vaughn into the semis. And Casper wrestled so well. I would have said like 3 weeks ago I didn't think he had been in the semis. But he wrestled so well at the semi-state. We kind of talked about it on the other broadcast that he has 4 losses. 3 of them all happened at the Al Smith. So I'm going to go with Casper McIntosh into the semis with Vaughn. I got Laughlin, Lee, Vaughn, McIntosh.
Yeah, I think Vaughn might be one of the most underrated kids in the state. I mean, you always you're looking at 145 and you're talking about Laughlin and Timmerman and Lee, but you kind of overlook Vaughn, who was in the finals last year against Nick Lee actually. So he put together a pretty good year last year, very quietly, and this year again kind of under the radar. Probably one of the better kids, probably left still seniors that's not signed. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing if he can duplicate his run of last year. So that definitely might go down as one of the most underrated 2-time finalists possibly. Who do you have, Mike, in the semis and finals?
Laughlin, Lee, Vaughn, and McIntosh with Vaughn and Lee. Vaughn against another Lee in the finals.
So he's not
I
going.
have Joe winning. I have Joe winning the state title this year.
So the Vaughns aren't going to send the Lees any Christmas cards, is that?
and Jordan Vaughn's great. He's put together 2 ridiculously good seasons. I wouldn't be surprised if that was completely wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Brad Laughlin and Jordan Vaughn get the win, or Laughlin get the win, or Tristan Rodriguez knock off Jared Timmerman Friday night, and maybe go with Joe Lee, which would be a good match because those guys both got really good gas tanks, can put up a lot of points.
Definitely. Coach Pendowski, any comments on the semis and finals? Other than they're pretty fun to watch, I'm sure.
Hey, don't be using my words. No, I don't know how much of this weight is going to be set in stone. These guys are all going to be able to wrestle. I think the Lees definitely show up to wrestle, and modern day has been around and even people fits for a long time. There's a bunch of experience in there and some young bucks, and so I don't have much more to add than that. Without me trying to piss off a third of Bankers Life Fieldhouse for telling who I think's going to win.
A third already hates you, right?
It sounds like it already.
Okay, we'll move on.
I just always try to apologize when they tell me I picked the wrong guy. I just say, man, we just did it for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I got to coach against them next year.
We'll look at next one, 152. Where do we want to start here? Yes, lots of pretty good guys here. The 1 and 2 guys, McCormick and Bam Lawrence, are going to be in the semis, unfortunately. Lots of pretty good guys. I think McCormick and Bam are probably a little bit ahead of everybody else, but they definitely are not anything close to being locks at this weight. Coach Pendowski, any comments on the top half?
top half of the bracket's got a bunch of team points in here for the team race with Warren, Mater Dei, the Penn kid, and so a bunch going on. I think Pretense has got to be pretty excited about where he's sitting in the bracket right now. Looking to score some points. I think Pruitt's got to be pretty happy about winning the match last week in the finals for where that gets him in this side of the bracket. And so I think just going by what's predicted to come through, this looks like Warren Central and Penn are in a good place to score some team points.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I mean, we haven't really touched on too much right there, but I mean, any of those Penn, Warren Central, even Mater Dei guys can make the finals, and that would be huge for team points to get those guys there. Mike, what's your take on that top half? That's pretty much a pick 'em from top to bottom there about who's gonna end up in the finals there.
Yeah, looks like that top half I did pretty well in the rankings, right? I only missed one guy, Jacob Ferris, just on the top part. Trent Pruitt was 10 seconds away from being in the semis last year when he wrestled Kovac. He lat dropped him. It was really close. I think that, drawing Mater Dei Friday night's never, no matter how you cut it, those guys always come prepared. So I wouldn't look past Mitch Lehman Friday night, but I have Trent Pruitt. Diego Lemley was a little banged up at the semi-state. I don't know. He had his hand wrapped up pretty good, so it was kind of surprising, but he still was able to get out and get third. I have Lemley winning Friday night, Andrew Herron over Jacob Ferris, and Denzel Prentice had beat Sturgill this year 3-0. I think Denzel's wrestling really well. I got Denzel Prentice winning Friday night.
What do you have for the semis there then?
Pruitt over Lemley and Herron over Prentice.
Okay. Looks like, that whole top bracket's pretty wide open and definitely could be a bracket buster for anybody doing that.
Oh, yeah. Hunter Bates is a really tough kid, too. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter Bates got in there. I know he's hit some good ones at McCormick, so.
Yeah, definitely. He's a pretty good football player, actually going to Wabash for football, and was one of the best football players in our area. That's pretty good considering there's a lot of pretty good football players. He comes from a small school there. What do you have on the bottom half there, Mike?
I'll start at the bottom. I got Cale McCormick over Matt Burns. I have Brett Johnson over Elijah Dunn at 5 and 6, which is a really tough Friday night matchup between two seniors. Elijah Dunn really impressed me last year. I was actually really surprised by the semifinal score at Evansville between him and Herron. So I have Brett Johnson moving on. I have Berkebile over Clark, and I have Bam Lawrence over Dietrich. And then Bam Lawrence and McCormick into the semis.
Be going, Coach Pendowski. What's your take on that bottom half?
The man's name is Bam.
Not Steve.
No, that's athleticism, power. Thinks he's going to win every time he steps inside a circle. Berkebile's got some matches he's won in this tournament before. Beat some people maybe he wasn't supposed to beat. But Lawrence is killing it. Coming out of the bottom half of the bracket. The Pear Meridian senior, Dunn's won some big matches. McCormick's on his 4th trip here. And so, watching them guys come through to get the chance to wrestle Lawrence is it's a tough one to go through. Like I said, Lawrence comes in with power, the ability to win, and I don't know if he's going to false start as many times this year. And so, that's going to be an exciting thing for him to do, I think, coming out of the bottom half of the bracket is I'd go with Bam if I had to pick a winner.
Yeah, Bam. He's been on the Gorilla team twice. He's a great
His
kid.
name's Bam.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
I want to change my name to Bam.
Bam Pandowski.
Yeah.
They can just start calling you Bam. But you better be explosive and athletic like him. Which I guess why am I even asking? You're already like that.
Absolutely. I'm still thinking I'm more like Motley. I looked at you and thought I was Motley the other day.
Nice. I know I saw McCormick this weekend. First time I saw him all year. He looked really good. He's a good size 52 pounder. Him and versus Bates in the finals, he just kept attacking and just taking down, letting up. I mean, he looked like he was ready. I mean, he was clicking. Should be him and Bam will be a great match. Kind of more of a technician versus an athlete. I know obviously Bam has some technique, but I mean, it's going to be a pretty fun match to watch, I'm sure. Definitely some strategy, coaching-wise there. Both kids have some great coaching staff. So what do you have coming out of the semis and finals there, Mike?
Is Kale still ranked nationally too? I know Bam isn't ranked nationally.
Yes, he is like 12th-ish on IndianaMat, I believe. I do not know if he is on Flow, which I do not.
Yeah, those guys have done a great job. Both coaching staffs, both kids are really good. That's one I kind of wish was a finals match, but I mean that's kind of how it lays out. I think Kale McCormick almost wrestles a style kind of to Jacob Kovac a little bit, like not basic, but real solid basics, and I think it helps Bam Lawrence that he's wrestled Jacob Kovac so much. So I got Bam into the finals, and I have Pruitt over Heron in a rematch from Martin's or New Pal invite. I have Pruitt and Stephen Lawrence in the finals.
Okay. Who's your
That would be
pick?
a rematch from Friday night 2 years ago. Pruitt and Lawrence.
Nice. With Lawrence winning a close one, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, I have Bam winning the title.
Okay, Coach Mandowski, any comments on the semifinals other than you already said you like Bam?
No, I just want to say Bam 8 more times.
Bam.
No, I don't know how much more there to say than I think this is a weight class where there's a couple of them. My phrase is always, we're going to leave Baker's Life on Saturday and go, I can't believe fill in the blank won, or this guy made the finals. I think last year going to the state tournament, who picked Alston Bain to be in the semis? Just who's going to go down and roll. And I think this is a weight class that has some great kids in it, but this is one that could have some people come through and go, man, can you believe that Jacob Ferris made the semifinals of the state tournament? And he's athletic enough to do it. And I think if you go all the way through, Layman's got a strategy and a way to score points. Pruitt's athletic and wins. Berkebile's already been in the semis. And so, you can go through this weight class. Johnson made the finals. Nobody go, oh, goodness, I can't believe that. It's time to sell the farm. This is, who the hell knows what can happen here? If I had to go with just wrestling and body and be able to compete, I'd go with Bam minus. He doesn't false start 7 times. Keep Lawrence under 6 false starts in the tournament and taking Bam.
Okay.
One of the other things I like about Bam is that I think it's hard to find kids that aren't afraid to just go out there. They don't care who they're wrestling. I think a lot of times, kids, kind of back down. Not always, but he's a kid that really just doesn't care. He just goes out there and goes. And I think that's really helped him out. And I think that Portage has done a great job advancing him because 3 years ago we were talking about him being a sleeper. Now we're talking about him possibly being a state champ. And he was in the finals last year in overtime.
Definitely. Moving on.
I think it,
106. Another wide open weight class. This one's been probably the most fun to rank. Unfortunately, Mike, probably the first time in the history of IndianaMat. Number one ranked guy didn't make it to state. I guess probably McCloskey was a number one ranked guy, right? Back when he injury defaulted out. Was he number one
Yeah,
a couple
Austin
of years ago?
McCloskey, yeah.
So I guess so the second one, but this was the first one that got beat in the ticket round. Obviously, no slouch and Asa Garcia. So it's a great weight. A lot of young guys, couple older guys in there. I mean, you just look at these guys, and I think this one's going to be one that, like Coach Podolsky said, we might be saying, "Wow, I can't believe so and so made the finals here, or so and so won it," because this is a weight class that whoever's going to be clicking is going to win. Right now, it looks like Mills has got back on the horse after kind of some lumps early in the season, but you never know what's going to happen at Baker's Life, especially with the young guys that haven't been there yet, haven't wrestled in front of 10,000 fans. What do you have in the top half there? We'll have Coach Podolsky start off here.
The top half of the bracket,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's all the same. 6-pounders, what do you need? You need arms. You need to be able to move your feet. And you need to not be an idiot. And you go or come from a good school. Is what we've always said about 6-pounders. Just the name at the top. The schools in the top half of the Brownsburg, Crown Point, Warren Central, Castle, Midtown. These are all guys that had, their town didn't throw a parade because they qualified for the state tournament. They were expected to be here. All of these guys are big and fast. I think Murphy, from the ones that I've seen, is the biggest and the fastest. And so, then you go with these guys through the tournament. So, who's going to come out? I don't know. Mills Russell wants to win everything he does. Murphy might need his way into the semifinals, just being big and strong and downright nasty. Crown Point isn't going to be afraid of anybody with who he works out with. And so, who's going to come out here? I'm going to go with the big. I'm going to go with Murphy and probably Mills is what I've seen. I haven't seen how big Tanner is here. So I'm going to go with the two biggest guys there, Murphy and Mills.
Yeah, definitely. I want to give a shout out to Wheeler's Jose Diaz, the first state qualifier in school history, so that's pretty cool. I'm glad to see the program getting a state qualifier, especially a young guy like that will be back in 2 more years. So, Mike, what do you have at the top half, other than just want to take a dart and throw it up against the wall for this weight class?
Yeah.
Wait, hang on, Mike. Do you know who one of the coaches of Wheeler is?
I know that Jose Diaz's dad's there. I know that Mike Rowe helped out.
Yeah, but that's also where Dr. Death is.
Steve Williams?
No, Robin Hatton. The guy that wrestled at Chesterton, come to Portage's room every year in the winter to come wrestle our heads. And is the greatest guy ever. And
nice.
He's called Dr. Death. And so, yeah, I got an email this week from Dr. Death, and I just went, I'm having a good day. Dr. Death emailed me. That's phenomenal. I'm glad he didn't miss my elbow.
See how excited I was when I thought it was Steve Williams, Dr. Death?
Nice. I don't know if he's actually alive, that Steve Williams. Maybe not. I'm not sure.
I was so pumped. No, that is great because honestly, they've only had a program for 3 years now. It's their 3rd year in existence for Wheeler.
Yeah,
and I know they had a kid to take around, and they had Diaz get through. So nice area, nice school. They do well in football. I think that as that goes on, I think that program will really grow. Maybe I could be wrong, but I think that's a good area right there. I have Mills over Gavin Rose. I have Murphy, and I think the other two are kind of toss-ups. Obviously, Watts wrestled really well. I had him unranked. Diaz he has 4 losses. 3 of them are to Crown Point, 1 to Corey Cavanaugh. and Demeen and Moran, and I thought Moran has been great all year. Kavanaugh kind of slowed him down, but I actually have him winning Friday night. Pick up Moran, wrestling Mills in the quarters, and then I have Diaz. I went East Chicago. I went homer there.
Nice. Should be. I mean, that whole that Watts kid looked pretty good. He knocked off Zadalik and a returning state qualifier Ben Streeter just to get the state. So he had a really good day. And yeah, I saw him a little bit at Al Smith. I knew he was pretty solid. He had some decent losses. Just wrestled well. And that was first couple matches actually made the finals. So definitely had a good day of wrestling. Mike, what are you looking at the bottom half of the bracket?
I like Corey Kavanaugh's experience. I like how he wrestles. I think that I have him beating J.C. Herring. Bryson Denny's had a really good year, but I said it when I was seeing Sammy Fair at the Harvest Classic. I thought Sammy Fair was the guy to beat. I have Sammy Fair winning Friday night over Bryson Denny. I have Brayton Curtis over Trey McCartney. Trey McCartney has 52 wins. That's crazy to me. Harrison, a ton of matches. He has 55 matches in. But I have Curtis. Curtis is undefeated at 106. His 3 losses are all at 13. And this is a Friday night. I think it's going to be really good. Lucas Waldenziak and Asa Garcia. I always butcher that name for sure. So I know I'll get an email from them. And Asa, and I got Asa winning Friday night. So I got Asa, Curtis, Fair, Kavanaugh in the quarter. I have
There's be some good quarterfinal matches.
Kavanaugh. I think he's beat him twice now. And I have Curtis over Garcia.
Coach Pendowski, what's this pretty good bottom half bracket? What are you looking at down here?
Kavanaugh and Fair wrestling in the quarters would be a good match. Mike, you said they wrestled. They wrestled at the Harvest Classic.
They wrestled at the Harvest Classic, and then they also wrestled at Team State.
And Fair won both of those?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Fair's been known to blow them after he was supposed to win. And I'm saying that because we know him well, and it's a family we love. Sammy's Fair, Sammy's way of wrestling, sure saves things much. I know Black had him on the ropes and around to go. And, Sammy all of a sudden gets escaped, take down the earphone. And it's a little bit different match. Wall and Zach, if you wanted some help there, Mike.
Yeah.
Garcia is a bunch of guys. I'm going to go out on a limb and say those guys have probably wrestled, 6 times a year for the last 5 years throughout Indianapolis and all the club stuff. And, those guys to get to the match to wrestle Curtis, who, is definitely streaking, and, McCormick does a good job putting those guys together in the state tournament. I think if you're going to make me pick a winner, I'm going to pick Kavanaugh to get to the semis because he's a junior. He's been there before and done those types of things. And then if I have to pick somebody coming out of the bottom quarterfinal of the bracket, probably Curtis. But I don't feel confident about that one. Between Curtis, Wallensack, and Garcia, those guys are, who's coming through. I would pick Curtis just because he might be the biggest.
Yeah, he wrestled our guy in the ticket round. He's a good size 6-pounder. Definitely moves pretty well on his feet. Stays in great position. Prototypical Yorktown wrestler. Not gonna concede position. Gonna run that spiral in half and put your head on the mat and make you hate wrestling him for 6 minutes.
It's pretty funny. You should see my wife looking at me when I say, you should see how big the 106-pound high school kid is. What the hell's that? Dumb thing they did today.
Yes.
6-pounder.
If it is Kavanaugh and Fair in that quarter, the first time they wrestled, it was 3-2 ultimate tiebreaker. Fair rode him. I remember he chose top. And then at the Team State, he beat him 1-0.
And that's going to be big team points also. I mean, Penn and Perry are probably a little bit on the outside for team points, but at the same time, getting a guy in the finals or semifinals could make things a little bit more interesting in that aspect. What do you guys? We'll start with you, Ed. Semifinals. Anything you're looking for? Anyone? I mean, all three of the or all two of the semifinals look like they're going to be great matches, no matter who comes out from each quarter bracket.
No, they should be. I think this is. I, if I had to predict the future, I would say the semifinals of this weight class are going to be funner than hell to watch, but the finals are going to be quite boring. Um, and I think coming through here, I'm going to go with Murphy for no other reason than he's huge. Andy's going to come after you. Andy's a senior. Um, but on the bottom half of the bracket, if I've got to pick somebody to come out, the hell, I don't know. I got nothing. I'm trying to go with the junior from Penn. And so go the Warren kid with the Penn against the Penn guy in the finals. And Murphy's just stopped making mistakes. He's wrecking people. And I think if he can keep out of trouble with his skill set, with his as big as he is and with his athleticism, and he's definitely a guy that's going to come make things physical. And so, I mean, if he can manage his risk, I would think he'd be a tough guy to beat.
Yeah, definitely. Mike, what's your take on that? I mean, I know Mills pinned Murphy in at Team State pretty quickly. Kind of a crazy match, I think. I don't know, you were there. I wasn't there, but definitely, I'm sure Murphy is going to be out for revenge. And with
how big of a match is that in the semifinal? That could be the team race right there, Mills and Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought that was the match where Ty kind of turned it around for the season. I know he had taken some lumps, but I don't know if he's lost after that. So I'm gonna go Ty Mills, and I've kind of said it from the beginning. I think that when Ty Mills is right, I know he had an injury early on and kind of worked through it. I think that he's the best kid in the weight. I got Ty Mills actually winning a state title over Sam Fair, but Sam Fair also had beat him that day at Team State. So I got Mills and Fair in the finals. Ty Mills winning.
Okay.
But Murphy is a grown man wrestling 106.
That's a big 6 pound.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 3 more weights to go. Ooh, you will go 113. Where's that one at? The Colton Cummings show. Cummings is the returning state champ. He's at top of the bracket, been #1 all year. Pretty good split of the top guys, it looks like. The big surprise coming out of semi-state was Jabin Wright from Kokomo. Mike had unranked. He does draw an interesting first-round matches. He has Donovan Johnson, who he has 1 and 2 against. Is that right, Mike, this year?
Yep.
So I guess of Johnson, getting 4th out of East Chicago is kind of down on himself, and then he looks up at his draw on Sunday and he's like, "Oh, I like this draw." So that's going to be an interesting match. With Johnson winning the last 2 against him, and I think Jabin wrestled real well Saturday. I was very impressed with him. Beat a very good Jeffrey Davis. Looked solid all day long. Definitely one that if he's obviously clicking at the right time with our Monday Madness article. I got to plug that a little bit. Definitely, he's wrestling well at the right time. He can do some damage, make it semifinals, and make things interesting. He has definitely a pretty good skill set to do well. Mike, what's your take on the top half? Obviously, Cummings is probably one of your lead guys. That quarter bracket is kind of
one of my favorite guys, right? I'm always hanging out with Carl and Sue and those guys. So I like Colton. Obviously, he's a state champ. He wrestles tough. He wrestles really aggressive on the mat, and he's off the mat. He's the biggest sweetheart. He's the nicest kid. And I mean, even going that, he helps out a ton with his brother Austin.
A sweetheart. What's the state wrestling tournament this weekend, Mike?
And they gave me the business on that too because I said that on the live broadcast. But you'd be hard pressed to find a nicer kid than Colton Cummings.
Dude, don't call him a sweetheart. Hey, Russell Call a good dude. He's good.
So I have Cummings winning Friday night. I have Turner winning Friday night, and that's an interesting quarterfinal for me because I thought that was a matchup I was excited to see. I thought that could have been a possible finals matchup because I think Skylar Turner's a big, strong 13. That's also pretty mean. Um, I have Cummings winning that match though, and going back to the semis 2 years in a row. And then the other one, these are both toss-ups for me. Donovan Johnson was probably I was the most impressed with of a guy I didn't see. Um, he is nasty on top. He is ridiculously nasty on top. Obviously, the Pataxels were there, and he's a beast. I thought that actually in the match with Slates, I thought there was a couple times he was pretty close to back, and he almost got that. I feel bad because Jobin Wright just won the semi-state, but I'm gonna pick a 4/1 there for East Chicago,
Oh,
and I actually feel terrible about it. But 2-1, Jobin actually pinned him the last time they wrestled. But out of everyone there, I thought Rehan Uribe was a lock to qualify for state out of East Chicago, and Donovan Johnson got on top and just turned him at will. So and then Slivka obviously was another huge surprise for me, a semi-state beating Turner, which I'm sure that Cathedral, Warren Central, Cathedral Turner rivalry is probably pretty nice since Turner was at Cathedral. So that's a big win for Slivka. And
We were
Baxter
on deck.
Anakin has been
We were
great.
on deck behind that match when it happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Cathedral fans were cheering pretty loud.
to say the least. Uh, and Baxter Anakin obviously has had a great year. Ran into a red hot Nick Weaver, who I'm never shy to say that Nick Weaver is one of my favorite guys. Just he was cracking me up last year at state. Also wrestled with the Gorillas. Uh, that's a coin toss. I don't know. I'm actually filling it out as I go. So it's really I'm just writing it down. I'm gonna go Slivka just because he's wrestling so hot right now, and I got Slivka into the semis versus Colton.
Coach P, what's your take on that top half with a pretty good quarterfinal match, possibly between Turner and Cummings? That should be it. I know neither of them are the nicest guys on the mat. They're gonna be physical to say the
But Colton
least.
is the nicest guy off the mat.
Are you going to be handing out suckers and lollipops at the state tournament, Mike? Jeez. When I look at the top half of the bracket, if Mike wants to call Colton Cummings a sweetheart, Skylar Turner is just meaner than hell. And so that's the angel versus the devil. And so, I mean, who comes out of that one? If both of those guys wrestle in the quarterfinals, that's going to be a good match. You know, Cummings is going to create some wrestle and scramble so well. Turner comes with power and straight nasty, and when he gets on top, he's going to squeeze you. And so that's good versus evil, if you want to use that one. Who comes out on? I don't have the slightest idea. I'm the bottom half of the bracket. I don't know much about the Kokomo, about Wright and Johnson. I know Slivka did win some matches this last weekend and is wrestling well. So if I got to pick somebody to come out of that bracket, I'd pick the Cathedral kid just because he's the only one I've ever seen. So, you know, Castle kid with one loss. His name's Anakin. So that's kind of awesome. You've got Angel Devil and Star Wars guy at the bottom half of the bracket.
Yeah, that quarter bracket definitely has some cool names. Baxter, Anakin, Jordan Slivka, Jabin Wright. Definitely might be the best name quarter bracket. Uh, Mike, what's your take on the bottom half? You have Alex White versus Moscone, which should be a good match. Slates, a senior, two seniors battling out. Slates and Jeffrey Davis. That should be a good Friday night match. And you have your boy Weaver. Actually, I like him too. great kid. I got to tell the story about when he was at Scholastic Duels. I had him come in because I wasn't exactly sure that Mr. Brendan Black would make 120, which was 20 plus 5. So I was like, hey, can we get Weaver just kind of as a backup? We'll get him some matches on another team. And ends up, what's his name? Shoot, Munster
Jason
kid.
Curry.
Prairie broke his leg in against Malloy, and so we had to pull up Weaver to the A team, and you couldn't see it. I mean, it was like that JV kid that finally gets his first varsity match. He was so excited, and we throw him in against this Virginia State champ, and I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna give up 6 here, and I was like, as the match going on, he kept, he's battling, all of a sudden, with about 2 seconds to go, he puts the kid to his back and sticks him, and he just comes off the mat like a kid that you just gave the biggest candy bar to. He was just so excited. And we're like, holy cow! And he came to wrestle. He's great. I mean, when he wrestles, he's tough, and he can battle if he has everything clicking right, mind and everything. He's going to be one that's in the mix at 113. So anyway, had to give my Nick Weaver props. I'm sure he's giddy as a schoolgirl right now because when he's listening.
Hey, stop it! He's not acting like a schoolgirl. He's not a sweetheart. No. They're going to run and go win a state title. You understand? I live in a house with 5 girls. You think I need to hear that crap one more time? Yes, the state tournament. Cut it out, both of you.
We're going to go do push-ups now.
Yeah, do something.
Okay, Mike, what do you have on the bottom half? Any giddy schoolgirls or... It could be the giddy schoolgirl versus the sweetheart in the finals. Think about that.
All right. Alec White, I have winning Friday night, 42-1. Alec White's was a semifinalist as a freshman, lost Friday night last year. I have him going back to the semis. I have Austin Slate over Jeffrey Davis. But I've been wrong about Jeffrey Davis before. I didn't think Jeffrey Davis would be in the state semifinals last year. And the major told me I was wrong, and the major was right. So I have Weaver winning Friday night. And Colin Pointer, Christian Mejia was a 1-0 match at the Al Smith. But I have Colin Pointer advancing into the quarterfinals with Weaver. And I'll say Colin Pointer, is probably the meanest 100 in the bracket. I would say I'd be comfortable saying that, and I'm sure Leroy feels the same way because I think Leroy kind of totes him as the meanest 13-pounder in the state. I have Weaver over Pointer into a semi. I have Alec White into a semi.
What do you have on the bottom half here, Coach Pendowski? I know you probably seen White a little bit this year and kind of came up a little bit short last year, but definitely a good half bracket of guys that, haven't totally made their names for themselves, but are great wrestlers.
You know what? We did not see New Palestine. And so the first time I saw him this year was at semi-state, and impressive. We did see this year kind of blue, so they mixed Stoney early, and that's not a surprise. You watch that guy murder people in the youth level for a while, and so that is a little bit on my list if I want to see that match. White comes in with experience and the resume, and Mosconi's got the youth stuff. See if the young bucks are in there and compete. I don't know. Mosconi coming out at the fourth place out of the semi-state. That one I did see coming, and so, I could be way off on where we think he is. The bottom half of the bracket is once you guys are in state medals, you're going to be able to say things Saturday night. And so, the guys that can come through and compete, I think all those guys have quality wins, and I think they all have quality losses. And so, to pick somebody coming out of that one, you have to go with the senior. If I got to pick somebody, I'd go with the senior, the mean team from Portage, because I'm familiar with both of those. And so, I don't know who to come out on that bracket there.
Okay, definitely. I mean, it is pretty much a toss-up on that bottom half. There's no one that's really sticking out as a favorite. So I definitely, you have a couple seniors that are one with a medal that's looking to finish pretty well. Definitely a great athlete, good wrestler. So Mike, what do you have in the semis and finals here?
I have Cummings, Slivka, White, Weaver. I have Cummings and White in the finals, and they always remind me every time I say that that's 1 and 2 that Colton's never lost to White. So it kind of makes me want to pick White, but I'm gonna go with Cummings.
Because he's a sweetheart.
Off the mat, on the mat, he's really mean too.
You
So
can
you see a lot of
prove that
guys
now.
getting
It's
shoving
true.
matches with
The
him.
damage is done.
Off the mat, he's a sweetheart.
No,
Hey,
Coach.
Mike, when I die, you're not speaking at my funeral.
I'm gonna give the nicest speech ever.
I don't want it.
Coach Bondowski, any comments on the semis and finals? Any sweethearts and mean kids?
No. I think, Cummings is the guy that I've been fortunate enough to watch him work out, and I know his family a little bit. And when the guy walks into the practice room, you go, how does that guy, win at the level he wins at? You watch him compete, he finds a way to get jobs done. And so, going into a tournament like this, it's hard to count against him. If he can weather the storm of, Turner to, this his semifinal match to get to White, he's definitely earned a state title, but he's already done that once, and as he went into the tournament last year, my first thought was, I just don't see Cummings as the guy that's going to win a state title, and he did it convincingly. And so to root or to pick against him would almost be foolish. But Turner's going to bring some rough things into his way, and then whoever comes out on the bottom, from White to Moscone to Davis to Slates, I mean, there's a bunch of them. Who's going to come out? I think if I had to pick a winner, you got to go from I've never lost.
Definitely. I think when we were talking a little bit last night about some juniors that are kind of under the radar, kind of overshadowed by the pretty good senior class we have. I think Cummings is one of those guys that's kind of just overshadowed. You have guys like Hughes and Strack and all those guys that are all there that kind of overshadow him, and he's just as good as those guys. So we'll move on. Got two more weights. 285 pounds. There we go. Sean Streck. Okay, we're done. Do we need to go any further than Sean Streck? He's kind of good. He is one of the most athletic and agile heavyweights I've seen. Coach Bondowski, you've been around a few years longer than I have. What's your take on Mr. Streck compared to some of the guys you've seen back when you had hair and when I was in high school and stuff?
Really? No. You know what? Maldonado at Maryville's done nothing but plug out quality heavyweights. I don't know how a college doesn't pick them up just to push their heavyweight. If you look at the guys that have been from Maryville for the last 10, 12 years at heavyweight, and it's out of your mind. It's not just guys that do okay. It's guys that destroy people. And David's got a way to get those guys to get them through. Obviously he's working well with the football player because all those other guys that came through were monster football players too. But when you first hear of Streck, freshman qualifies for state heavy. Yeah, okay, whatever. Who'd he beat? That's always my phrase and stuff like that. Who'd he beat? Then you walk him out there, and the freshman, he's blowing people away body-wise. And then you watch him compete, and you go, holy crap, this guy stays in position, and he's trying to score points. And you watch him grow and do nothing to get better every year. I haven't seen him wrestle this year, but I know I am more than happy to set up a match with him and McClurg, but I'm not wrestling anyone.
So you give McClurg a little bit of a chance in that match?
I think if I spotted McClurg 14 points and put Struck on his back with one count to get to the start of the match, I'm still taking it. Don't tell anybody I said that, though, because McClurg will get pissed off at us.
He'll probably change all your passwords for all your.
Yeah, he might change
or just stick your caps lock key on.
Caps locks.
You probably did that on purpose. Probably find whenever by your computer just put the caps lock key Mike, what's your take on heavyweight? The Sean Streck show. I don't even know if I mean, we'll go through the bracket, but Sean Streck, he's good, I think, and I think this
Yeah,
is probably about as close to the lock as you can kind of say. I mean, you never want to say anything can happen at state. We've always seen guys go down like that, but this is about as close to a lock as you can think of at the state finals this year.
I was trying to think. I've only been around the state finals since '99, '98, and I want to say that Sean is the best guy I've seen, and not just because he's the new guy. And me and my brother kind of debated this for a couple days because he thought maybe they're coming off a high school national championship, but I don't know. I think he's the best I've seen. And Dexter was a freak of nature too. And they also had James Travis, who was really good. Was a runner-up, but
Didn't Dan Spencer win a state title too?
Dan Spencer, yeah. So Maryville's ran some really good heavyweights out, but I don't know if I always like to tell the story when I ranked him as a freshman. He was like a top 10 heavyweight, and Joe was like, "Hey, are you sure you want to rank this guy like this freshman heavyweight?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm telling you, he's pretty good." And then he went out, and I think he won the Al Smith. There was a runner-up at the Al Smith that year. He's like, "Yeah, that guy's legit."
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It is I guess some of the Perry guys could have been. Chico is good, but he's a beast, man. Obviously, Little Hawaiian beat him. Wesley Bernard beat him. He was a sophomore. I have him winning. I have him winning the whole thing. I have him winning Friday night. I have him over Clem in the quarters. I have York and Perkins. I have York in the semis up top.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone? Any comments on the top half there, Coach Pendowski? Other than you feel bad for Braxton Amos, who has to wrestle him.
No, it's normally you go into a tournament, you say heavyweight is who can manage this, and York's had a hell of a career. Riddle, with what that guy's done for the longest time, and with what he brings to the table athletically, he gives people fits. I have Perkins or McWilliams, and so who's going to come out of those matches? I don't know. I think this is. I think what makes Streck special about this is, he can take the heavyweight's ability to shut the sport down, and he can take it away, and he's going to score points. And so, those other guys, who's going to get out there and compete against him? Yeah, I just guess that I know York is a great big dude that can move well, and so if I got to pick somebody to make the semifinals, I'd probably pick him, but nothing more than I know that he's big. I think heavyweights and 6-pounders is sport than the other 12 weight classes because it has so much in your body.
Definitely.
But Streck is, kind of taking that part out of the equation.
Yeah. Riddle's a former IndianaMat tournament champion. Definitely I saw the video of him punching the ticket round match, and you can tell he's probably one of the most excited kids, and definitely has put the work in. So good to see a kid like that get through. Bottom half, that's a pretty wide open bottom half bracket. I did want to ask you something about Coach Mendowski. Dan Pfeiffer, the kid from Tipton. I saw him this summer, and he looked big. He kind of looked a little nasty. Kind of came on the past couple weeks. He's beaten Samuels. He beat Samuels at regional, lost to him at semi-state. Any comments on him? I don't know if you saw him or.
I got to see him a little bit, but I remember thinking the same thing after he had Samuels win, because Samuels is in our conferences, so we get to see him quite a bit, and Samuels is an aggressive dude, and it's fun to watch. We call the heavyweights the little belly bouncing, but Samuels doesn't have a belly and he doesn't bounce it, and so when he gets beat, you kind of pay attention. And so with the Tipton guy coming through and beating him, I watched him just a little bit at some point, and he's big and he moves well, but I can't tell you very much about it. as I was probably yelling at Hipple somewhere while he was competing. But I remember thinking, I've got to go out. I want to see this guy wrestle because I don't know who he is. But Tipton's another place where they've thrown. It's a little bitty school, and those guys have thrown out some heavyweights over time. And so I didn't get to see him very much.
Okay.
Looking at the bottom half of this bracket, as I totally step in front of you and tell you what I think. Obviously, Samuels is one. If I'm going to pick my favorite, he's fun to watch wrestling. He only weighs about 215, but he's going to get you in bad spots and make you react to it. He's starting to get the score from where you react from. And so Samuels is my favorite to watch. What gets him in trouble is spotting 70 pounds to somebody that can reach speed. And so, whether he's going to come out of this bracket and make it to the finals, I don't know. I know if I'm going to root for somebody, I root for him just because it's pretty good heavyweight wrestling. I want you to do that.
Yeah, we've seen him. Our guys lost him twice this year. We wrestled him. Definitely not your prototypical heavy. He was an overtime match from being in the place in last year. So he's one of. He's going to be the smallest heavyweight out there, and he chooses to go up. He could easily wrestle 120 or 220.
He did wrestle a couple of matches in duels this year.
Yeah, they'll shift him around if it's better for the team, I think. But he's definitely. He could even. I guess he could probably even make 195 if he really wanted to. But it was more he likes wrestling the big guys, and he does well against them. I do remember watching him at Folk Style State last year versus Slick Rick, and Rick Samuels took Slick Rick down, then Rick hit his patented roll, almost pinned him. It was pretty impressive, and Slick Rick, the rankings killer, the guy gave him a shot. So, Mike, what do you have at the bottom half of this bracket, which is a total probably pick 'em of who's gonna get that one takedown that'll seal it up?
One takedown. Come on, these are athletes now here. I have Robert Samuels winning Friday night. I like Robert Samuels. I have Garrett Clark. He's kind of a big, mean kid from Delphi, 41-2 over DeAndre Hodge. I didn't see Hodge. How did Hodge look at Fort Wayne?
He looked pretty good. He took some guys out. He beat I think he beat Mammaletti. Yeah, he beat Mammaletti, and he battled with Perkins. So pretty solid kid, a big guy. So it should be. I'd say Clark beat Perkins, and Hodges lost to Perkins 3 times, I think, now. So
those are gonna be some big boys because Clark's a big kid too.
Yeah, so that should be a good match.
Sean Gallagher, Columbus East. Triple B told me early on I was sleeping on him. Said he worked with him a little bit this summer. He said he's tough. I have him winning Friday night. Huge win for him at the semi-state. That was a loaded semi-state at heavyweight. And then I had Giovanni Murillo from Portage, 14 losses. We talked to him a little bit at the Hobart Invite with Kyle Keith, and he has 14 losses. I want to say he's lost to Shrek 5 times. He beat Murillo at Al Smith 5-2. Giovanni took it on the chin a little bit when they went up to Detroit. He lost every match, I think, in overtime to St. Ed's, to Detroit Central Catholic, Oak Park River Forest, and St. John's, all overtime matches. And then he's lost to Streck in the duel, at the conference, at the semi-state, at the Al Smith, I think. So I have Murillo, but then I have Gallagher over Murillo, and I have Samuels who beat Gallagher, or I have Gallagher reversing a decision from Samuels. Samuels beat him 2-1 at Al Smith. I have Gallagher and Streck in the finals.
Okay, yeah, I think Gallagher beat Samuels at the Al Smith last year, so they have a little bit of a history together. And Samuels unfortunately had to wrestle Streck in the semis this year.
I know they told him they'd buy him lunch if he went out there and tried a lat drop on him. Carl
Nice.
Cummings told him he'd buy him lunch. He said, lunch is on me if you go out there for a lat drop. He didn't go for it, though.
Any other comments on 285, Coach Medowski?
Um, nope. I
Okay.
don't. Yeah, manage risk. Be an athlete. Don't let Shrek embarrass you.
I probably said that 10 times this weekend on the live broadcast. Coach Podolsky said heavyweights manage risks. So,
Definitely. So we have one more weight, possibly. Oh, geez, last weight, 132. Somehow we drew that. um, this is the weight a lot of people have been talking about since, I mean, the whole year it's been, is Nick Lee wrestling? Is Nick Lee wrestling? He made a comeback at Team State, and then the word was, is he going to wrestle State Series? And um, he did. He ended up coming at 132, kind of set up the kind of a pretty good matchup in possibly in the finals. This is still a great weight class. You take away Red and Lee, and this is a heck of a weight class. I mean, you have Brendan Black, who can wrestle with anyone in the state, and he's not afraid to take on the big dogs. I mean, he chose this weight. He could have gone 38. He could have gone probably 26, but he chose to go after Red and Lee. Um, he doesn't care. He's going to go out there. He's going to put points on the board. He's fun to watch. You also have someone like Drake Rhodes, who had about 86 losses last year, all to pretty good kids. All like he was fifth in the conference, and four guys ahead of him all went to state. So definitely good kid. Only has 2 losses, only to Doster this year. So just a great weight, top to bottom, even without Red and Lee. Mike, what's your take on the top half here?
I have Brennan winning Friday night over Alpers from Evansville North. Brennan dyed his hair black in anticipation to meet Chad Red, so he's going to have to beat Nick Lee to get there, it looks like. I have Owen Doster over Boone Welliver. I have Nick Lee over Aaron Orr, unranked, unwatched list. Aaron Orr, I kind of felt bad for that. Congratulations to him. I mean, that's a tough way to qualify out of East Chicago, but I got Nick Lee. I have Fernando Lovano over DJ Brookbank, and I have Lee and Black into the semis.
Yeah, Brookbank had a huge win over Zach Mello in the ticket round, which was pretty good. Looks like Ed didn't take his computer into the restroom this time.
What are you talking about?
Or whenever you were getting your water, I guess. So the Brookbank versus Mello was probably one of the bigger. I don't know.
I don't even.
The Brookbank versus Mello was probably one of the bigger upsets of the. I mean, really, of the ticket rounds. Kind of got guys top 4 last year. Definitely, probably one of those seniors that first year in the lineup. I'm pretty certain. So going out with a bang for Perry. Any comments on the top half there, Coach Pendowski at the 132?
Black's got a bunch of experience. Welliver's going to go wrestle. Doster, I do not know. I might go out on a limb and say I'm going to take 4 to make the semis. Wait, no, I'm not going to take Orr. Wes Noble guy, we watched him wrestle at Middle School State, and he, who did he beat in Middle School? Mello.
Yeah, he beat Mello.
And, I remember watching it going, who the hell is this guy? And then, now here he is in school, and he's scoring points. He was state qualifier last year, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yep.
So, Brookbank's hot. He beat Mello and he took it to him. And got a lead, built on it. And then hung on, and I didn't get to watch the rest of that match. But, those are going to be some good ones. Watching Lee Cruz is going to be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Do you even know where West Noble is? Can you name the city there?
I can. If you are at Noble and you go west, West Noble.
Isn't it just a stone's throw away from East Noble?
Where's Central Noble?
I think that's a big school that should just combine.
Nah, Ligonier, it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Is
So
it a basketball school?
no, not really. They've had some decent basketball. You're probably thinking of like Westview, who's a small school in that same conference that's pretty good at basketball. Um, Bottom half, some good matches. I think probably one of the matches of the night: Elliot Malloy, Chris Rumpf. First round, that's one that on paper doesn't look good, but Rumpf's wrestled a lot. Uh, the 11 losses for Portage is pretty deceiving on with the schedule they wrestled this year. Um, and then you have some Chad Red kid. I've heard of him once or twice. Um, Coach Bendowski, what's your comments on the bottom half?
I'm sticking with the Orr Gunset match in the finals.
I like it.
Hey,
We make some money in Vegas if that happened.
you would be able to retire. I don't say that much.
I haven't seen Rhodes from a Homestead, but I know from Collins is in our sectional, and the guy's not boring to watch. And there's going to be some points scored in that. I think the Malloy-Rumpf match, a lot of people have built up. I haven't seen Rumpf, and so I don't know. I do know that Elliot Malloy brings a strategical nightmare in matches. And, coming out of the bottom with the freshman from Avon, Tollins, been around for a while and gone to everything under the sun with the Davisons. So, I think having a junior against a freshman come out of that match, I think Malloy looks in a good spot to get to the semis, and unless, kind of the people talking about the Portage kid is the real deal. But it looks like that guy's getting separated pretty well to make a good semifinals all the way across.
Yeah, the Rhodes, and just a little comment since you haven't seen Doster's. Rhodes, both those two are pretty good wrestlers. I know. I said on the semi-state broadcast, Doster's dad was a professional baseball player, so he has a little athleticism in his blood. Also has a little red hair too, so definitely a kid that you can't really overlook as far as someone that can battle with the guys in that quarter bracket that he has up top with Black and that. Semifinals, Mike, what do you have there?
I have Rhodes Friday night. I think.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, bottom.
No, it's fine. Chris Rumpf and Elliot Malloy. I'm excited for that match just because of the offensive styles of both those guys. Chris Rumpf's really good on his feet. Elliot Malloy's really good on his feet. They kind of. Some people were saying that Chris Rumpf's this year's Bam. Coming into the season, and I was like, okay, you don't get a lot of Bam Lawrence's when he was a sophomore, and he's improved steadily through the season. And I would even go as far. I know Bam medaled as a sophomore. He might be a little bit further along than where Bam was as a sophomore, in my opinion. He got a couple takedowns on Black in the semi-state match, and Black had to really slow it down and kind of take it to that point. Chad Rad obviously is going for history. And Conley and Tolan Friday night would be a good one. I have Jack Tolan. I think he's been wrestling well through the tournament. He just kind of ran into that buzzsaw of not a buzzsaw, but he ran into Chris Rumpf, and Chris Rumpf's been hot. 2 of his 4 losses to Chris Rumpf, 1 to Elliot Malloy in overtime. And then Red, Malloy, Lee, and Black in the semis.
Okay, where do you have semifinal winners? It's probably going on a pretty strong limb here.
I got Lee and Red to make my day. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Coach P can kind of talk to us a little bit more too. Is this probably one of the more anticipated matchups in the state's history? I mean, you've been around a little bit longer than I have.
What'd you say, Mike? Asking if this is the most anticipated, or you telling?
Yeah, just like talent-wise.
Is it one of the most anticipated ones that you've seen in your day?
Um, I don't even think it's close. I don't think there's ever been another one close. I was pretty close to the Camden Effort Brandon Wright matches. I thought those were pretty good, and those guys got to wrestle every weekend from the regional on. I got to be pretty close for the Vegas Schaefer matches. I
Mm.
thought those were some pretty good ones back in the day, and I think this match can blow them away in just anticipation, and I think it's something that everybody wanted to see. And how many times do we see something like this happen? And guys accidentally miss weights. Don't go, go different weights as they shake out through the years. But you know, luckily for us, Nick Lee's found himself in a spot to be able to compete after dealing with some health stuff through the year. And I think it's going to be as big a match ever. I told Joe on offline before we started, I'd like to see the stat of how many urinals, what percentage of urinals are unused during that match, because I don't think anybody's going to leave the stadium.
No.
I mean, everybody's going. It's going to be talked about by 95% of the people in the gym, except for the Orr family. And and if this match comes through and all guys survive and the two of them make the finals, yeah, I can't think of anything close. And like I said, I've got a pretty biased opinion of what I think some of the biggest matches in the state tournament have ever been because I was pretty close to them. And those matches don't even compare to this. I think, in our room, everybody talks about it at the semi-state. Everywhere you go, I think if you had to take a survey of everybody in Evansville, 100% of them would say Nick Lee's probably favored in this match. And you go to anybody that went to Newcastle semi-state, and they'll tell you there's no way Chad Red's losing. And how great of that? How great is that for our sport that we get to see, you know, maybe two of the best ever in Indiana, and we get to watch them wrestle on a grand stage in front of 10,000 people. And so, that's gonna be a great thing. I know I'm
Definitely.
not going to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I've kind of felt like it parallels so much of Kyle Dake and David Taylor at the NCAA's um, a couple years ago, where Nick Lee's just kind of that David Taylor got a title, third, got a title coming in another year, and almost every single one of his matches is bonus points. And David Taylor, almost every single one of his matches was bonus points. And you got Chad Red going for 4 titles, trying to make history, which obviously we've all been around and we know that going for 4 titles doesn't happen very often. And just the parallels of it's crazy. You'd want it to be the last match, but I mean, people aren't always going to change what they're going to do. But man, like right in the middle, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know. I mean, we're kind of talking. Who's going to win? How are they going to win? Is the big question. I mean, I can say Nick Lee's going to win. I can say Chad Red's going to win. But how? How is that? I mean, how are you going to score? I mean, we watched Chad Red at the Who's Number One, and he can scramble like crazy. And he has the offense too when he needs to turn that on. So it's like I'm like, okay, I think Nick Lee's going to win, but then I'm like, how is he going to score on Red if Fletcher can't score on him, Taylor Lamont can't score on him. You look at some of those other matches that he's had throughout, in the off season against the best guys in the country.
Dardanes wasn't still scoring on him.
No, yeah, Dardanes wasn't scoring on him. Things like that. I'm like, I'd like to say, this is going to happen, but I can't say that. I can't say how's Nick Lee going to score on him. Then the other tokens, like, how's Red gonna, score on Lee? I mean, Lee has like an unprecedented like just pace and style that he's Red's always in great shape. He's never you never see him gas, but at the same time it's kind of like that Andrew Howe type style where he's gonna try to wear you out, and can Red keep up? That's those types of questions. I just hope it's a great match. I mean, I'd love to see them just spar for about 10, 20 minutes. I think that'd be fun to watch, to see them go at it. And I'm hoping that there's no crazy, controversial takedown that's on the edge with a shoelace in type thing. I hope it's a clean match and no no controversy because I definitely don't want you don't want to hear that for 10, 20 years like, well, so and so should have won that match because the ref blew the call or the his shoelace wasn't in or he was locking hands, that kind of stuff. Definitely don't want that in that match. I mean, I want a good, great match that the guys just leave it on the mat and we as fans get to sit back and give them a standing ovation because definitely Lee could have avoided him, Red could have avoided him. You could have had you could have done that kind of stuff. I mean, in the past, it's always interesting to see how kids kind of the better kids kind of avoid each other, and they're not this year. We have three guys, three weights with two ranked guys in it that are going after each other. So that's pretty cool. Mike, what's your big comments on here?
Um, I was so for Chad Red early on after we left who's number one. I was like, no one's touching him. And then Nick Lee goes out and puts on a show like he did in the semis of Evansville against Elliot Malloy, who could possibly have given Chad Red one of his toughest matches in his career, in Indiana at least. So I don't know. I mean, really, it's who can impose their will. If Chad lets Nick set the pace and he was going to wrestle that high-paced match, I don't think it's going to be a good day for Chad. If Nick lets Chad set the pace, I think it's going to be a bad day for Nick because I don't think it's such a different thing. I hope there's an official that really lets those scrambles develop and doesn't call the quick too, because I think that's going to be a lot of scrambling, a high-level scrambling. Where maybe a lesser, I mean, you have to do the levels to be at the state finals, but a lesser experienced official maybe would call us a little quicker than they normally would at like the college level, like they did at Who's Number One.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, those scrambles are just, I mean, I just remember seeing those at Who's Number One, and you're like, oh goodness, Red's getting taken down, and then next thing you know, not even close. I'm fearful of a fleeing the mat that's really shady that gets it's a 3-3 match and it's a fleeing the mat that costs someone a match. So I'm excited for it. Coach Bendowski, I haven't seen Red this year. I saw a little bit of Lee at Team State. Obviously if you're watching Red, you don't get to see very much of him because he's on the mat for about 14 seconds a match, I think. His average. Any other big comments on this on the big match?
No, I think a lot of the questions are on Nick Lee. Chad Red has performed well every time he's stepped on into the tournament, and for 3 years. And so you know that he's going to bring athleticism. You know he's going to bring desire to win. You know he's going to bring skill set and technical speed that is harder than hell to wrestle against. And so that's going to come. I think some of the question marks are with the amount of matches he's had, where he's at in his training. Is he going to be able to push the feet that is we go up and see Nick Russell, and with that being a question mark, you don't know if he's going to be able to do that or not. And even if he is, I think the question at the end of the day is, can he do a takedown? I think if you had to look at, I want to say Nick's, maybe better on the mat, but I remember seeing Chad Red at semi-state 2 years ago and go, gosh darn it, that guy has now become a monster on top. And so I think the question is, can Nick Lee wrestle a pace that's going to make it in his favor? And if he does that, that will be competitive. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. I think the ref will have enough to stay out of that match. That's one, Joe, you brought that up, and I didn't think about it of being a potential. But I don't see that. I know when I watch the match, I'm going to see, can Nick Lee wrestle at his pace, and can he finish a shot? Because after some of the things that Chad did in the fall, kind of overshadowed some of the stuff that Nick did through last spring and this summers when he's competing internationally. And I can't help but thank both guys for being in a spot to do this because of how good it is for the sport. I can tell you that the I don't know the right word to describe the mean combative guy in me was hoping the match would have been in the semifinals just so the rest of the world could see how goofy our tournament is set up bracket wise. And but the fact that this one's going to be in the finals is super exciting. And yeah, I don't remember being this excited to see a match happen.
Yeah, definitely. I know Mike talked to Robert Falcons of the IHSA last weekend, and I know he was even talking about it, which is, I know that's pretty cool that the IHSA is, looking at this and like, man, this is awesome. We get to see this kind of match, and Robert Falcons, definitely knows what's going on, has his hand on, what's going on in wrestling. So that's always neat, and because sometimes we kind of think the IHSA has no clue what's going on with wrestling, and they think we're an afterthought. But at the same time, that he was talking to Mike about the match and saying, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited for it, and I mean, the board's been lighting up since we saw that Nick Lee was in the brackets at sectional about who's going to win, and everyone's like, oh, someone's going to major him or whatever. It's not going to be a major. It's going to be a close match. It's going to be fun. I mean, I'm excited. I know. I mean, these two are going to probably. I mean, they could easily see each other a couple years down the road in college. Penn State, Nebraska, going to be Big Ten rivals. I'm sure they'll. I mean, it's very much of a possibility. I think Red's big enough to be a 41 or 49, and that's probably right where Lee's going to be in college too. So could definitely see a little bit of a rivalry shaking out, and I'm fairly certain that these guys have wrestled a little bit with each other in the off season and trained together. I think from what I've heard through the grapevine that, I mean, they have a rivalry with each other, but friendly. Like I'm going to come after you. And I think Red's probably eating this up. He loves, he's not afraid of competition. Either is Lee. Lee went 126 as a freshman. He could have gone 32. He could have gone 20 probably, but chose to go where Micic was. He's not afraid to seek out the competition, and neither is Red. So it's two bulldozers going at each other, and it's gonna be fun to watch.
I think that's a good point, Joe, when you talk about the personalities, and I know Chad very little, just in passing. I've talked to him, but you can watch him compete, and you know that he loves the stage, and he loves to be in front of people, and he loves to, put on his show. And like he said earlier, he performs great doing it. And I know one thing. That, look, I was talking to both Nick and Joe last year after the semifinals, and the freshman brother won a big match. And I'm asking him, I'm like, hey, I asked Nick, I'm like, do you get excited when your brother wrestles, or are you just, looking to go get a PB&J sandwich? And he says, I get a little bit excited. And I'm like, hey, Joe, how you feel, you know, wrestling in front of those? I forgot the question, and Joe went, I like it. And I said, hey, Nick, I said, excited about wrestling in front of people, or how do you feel? And Nick looks at me and he says, you know what, I just want to go to practice on Monday. And I thought, man, that is such a neat way to look at things. And I've talked about that a bunch in our room, about just, the guys working the next thing to get better at. And I think that explains why both of these guys the way they are. They have God-given ability. They've got a practice habit and a style that wants them to win, and they do it at an insanely high level. And maybe something that Indiana hasn't seen before. And so, just to see these guys together, thanks, guys. I'm excited to watch, and I'm sure I'll be talking about it for a long time.
Yep,
Unless there's the upset.
Yeah, unless Aaron Orr makes the finals. Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything you said, and it's interesting you talking about Joe and Nick Lee. I've talked to him a little bit. I mean, I know him well enough that I say hi to him. Talk to him a little at when I pass by. But those two definitely have different personalities, which is fun. They're both very driven and very good athletes. But it's funny talking to him. I gave him teased him a little bit last year. I said, asked Joe who wins, and when they wrestle, and he said, "Oh, I kick his butt," and then Nick didn't like that too much. So it's pretty fun to rile up two brothers like that when I know when they're training each other and stuff. Mike, any I guess last comments on 132 before we close it out?
No, I think we've touched it all. I think you guys did a great job breaking it down. And, it's gonna be great. I think. Hopefully everything plays out. Obviously, we all know the sport, and sometimes it doesn't always play out the way you want it to, and things happen. But if it does, I'm pretty excited for it.
Yep, I'll definitely be getting my ice cream because usually it's hard to get ice cream around the final. So I'm gonna go during right before 132 starts. I'm gonna get my ice cream, walk right in, and watch the match. I think.
26 is gonna be good. 20 is gonna be good. All these weights are gonna be good.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna see very many people getting out of their seats for any of these matches. I think we have a great finals this year. I mean, just looking through this, going through all the brackets, and I'm like, man, there's some great finals. With that, as we wrap up, one thing I need to mention, we will be giving our IndianaMat awards again. We'll probably have a show maybe late next week sometime. We will probably recover from state and still probably have to ban a few people after state. Usually some people get a little riled up and they create a name, and you can tell right off the bat they're starting trouble, so don't do that so I don't have to ban you. But Mr. Gorilla Award, top senior, definitely will be earned this weekend. A lot of great names that we can say. Obviously, Red's a top candidate, but at the same time, it's one of those things that this award's going to be pretty cool for this senior class because there's a lot of great guys. We also have a 1A, 2A, 3A Coach of the Year and a Wrestler of the Year award that we'll be giving out. Those can go to the Wrestler of the Year. Can go to any grade level guy, and the Mr. Grill is a senior only award. So kind of excited to give those out. I don't have one in plain view of me, so I can't grab one to show everybody. But we'll show it off when we have it ready. So I know we got like 38, 39 people that vote for that Mr. Gorilla Award, so it's pretty cool. People all over the state, and then some national rankings guys chip in their opinions on who thinks the best kid and best senior in our state is. So excited for that. Any last words of wisdom, Coach Pendowski, before we're 2 days away from state from Friday night? So any last words of wisdom before we get out of here?
No, Joe, it's great that you put these together. I know the kids in our program talk about them, and I think it makes it fun, it makes it exciting, but it grows our sport. And anytime we can do that, it is a good thing, and being done in a positive way. And going into this, the excitement that it helps generate, it makes it a better event. And so I appreciate you having me, and I like being here. And I didn't get to make as fun of Mike as much as I wanted to. I didn't see as many stupid things as I was hoping he was going to, so I could jump out of it.
You didn't butcher too many names tonight. I mean, Zach was about the only one.
Teaching for a long time about this guy's a sweetheart.
I butchered the middle school kid's name yesterday.
Yeah, luckily he wasn't on there. Yeah, definitely, I appreciate it. It's fun to, kind of hopefully help promote the sport and get more kids interested. I think having a cool website, I look at, other states' websites, and I think I have a very biased opinion, but I think that we have a great setup here. I think the profiles for coaches, teams, wrestlers are pretty cool. I know I get some inquiries from coaches all the time, and college coaches, and I'll send them, hey, this is their profile. This is what they've done. They've done this in the state. They've done this nationally, things like that. So I was like, giving the kids, their due for all their hard work. Wrestling is not a fun sport at times, and it's, you do a lot of work, and you don't get the recognition a lot of times in the newspapers. I know one of our local papers hasn't covered anything. One of the Fort Wayne papers has covered like next to nothing, and it's like, man, this is state series. They haven't even started anything with the state series. Just a little blurb, and I'm glad that we have something that people go to. I know I was looking at our Facebook stats, We have about 6,500 people that like our Facebook page, but just this week there's been 51,000 pay impressions, which means 51,000 people have seen posts from IndianaMat this week alone, which is it blows my mind when you think about that. Think about the reach that the website's getting and the promotion that kids are getting. I know like the academic all state post got like almost 20,000 impressions, which is great. That especially academic all state, these kids, some of them aren't our best wrestlers, but they're doing pulling double duty, doing great in the classroom and on the mat. So, as like, I think it's great for our sport, and I think, you know, I I love doing it. So, Mike, any last words of wisdom? We'll be at state this
Honestly,
weekend. You can, a man of the people. He will talk to you. He will tell you anything. His
yep.
his roommate always gets annoyed by the
Yeah, I
by
always feel bad because whenever everyone's running to seats, I'll stop and talk for a half hour to anyone. Uh, Obviously, Coach Pete, thanks for coming on. You bring such a good insight to all the stuff. I really enjoy it. I love hearing it from the other side. And you know, uh, wrestling you guys when you guys were at Portage, just the respect of it, of the coaching side you do is amazing. I know that you guys had some success at Carmel, so I just want to say thanks for that. And just this is a great weekend. I think just everyone going to the state finals, not only the wrestlers, but old wrestlers coming back, and you see a lot of people out, and it's just such an event. I love it. I love going down. I love being there in the stadium. I love the atmosphere. So thank you for everyone that sent me text yesterday telling me to get well. I wasn't feeling the best.
So with that, I'm looking forward to seeing people there. 10,000 fans. We're gonna watch some great wrestling, some great wrestlers. Good luck to all the wrestlers. Safe travels. We don't want to
Good
hear.
luck to you guys. Good luck to the Carroll Superchargers and the Carmel Hounds.
Got a first round matchup too, so there'll be a little. I'll be giving Coach Pendowski the evil eye, staring him down, going
Wait,
Tony.
matchup?
Possibly, I don't know.
What? I didn't know that.
You've been living in a cave the past couple days.
Oh, that's a trick again. I didn't even notice that.
You didn't even notice that at 60?
No, I must have missed it.
Yeah, plain dumb here. No, it's I'm excited. I'm excited for the weekend. Always one of my favorite weekends. The only bad thing I always hate about it is it just ends. The season just ends and it's done. And then come November comes in about 2 weeks it seems. So
That's
anyway,
because baby next month, Joe.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why it's going that fast.
yeah. It's it'll be a fun few weeks in the next next month. I'm sure my time's going to be a little crazy with doing a lot of things for the website, club stuff, and then possibly a little one coming on the way. So and then Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic.
That's
So
impossible. That's happening. You're having a little one coming on the way.
yeah, yes, there's no doubt about that. So with that, we are going to close out. We'll probably be on next week sometime with our kind of awards show type thing. Talk about state, reminisce about the great matches. So we will see you guys Friday at state. Good luck to everyone and have a great rest of the week.